Want the secret to how one man trained himself to lose over 90 pounds of body fat, as well as reverse his fatty liver and high cholesterol issues, and get rid of the annoying, constant heartburn and bloating symptoms, and how he did it 100% naturally? We'll be talking to the man who did this on today's episode of the DocMo Show. Hello, and welcome to the DocMo Show, where we explore the secrets to mastering your health naturally, so that the world's most driven, hardest working, and accomplished people like you can feel your absolute best, so you can truly thrive at home and in your career. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Mosley, but here everyone just calls me Doc Mo. On today's episode, we have a very special guest, Julian Ribinik, who is a certified nutritionist, certified fitness trainer, and certified sports nutritionist, dubbed the Keto Coach. Julian has not only transformed his own life and body, he's coached many other men and women and helped them do the same through his practice, Bioprime Wellness and Keto Fit. Today, he will share his expertise on natural weight loss and fitness, as well as give us insight into his own personal weight loss journey, so that we can gain the transformational tips and strategies that we need on our own weight loss and fitness journeys. So strap in and help me in welcoming Julian Ribinik to the show. Welcome, Julian. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Hi, Angela. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's great to see you. I'm so glad you're here.
Great to see you too. I'm so happy and so excited and so honored to be on your show.
I know. I'm
Thank you.
glad we I'm glad we came across each other so that you can share some of these amazing tips that we're going to hear today, because I'm really excited to hear how you did what you did. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
It is. And looking back, I don't think about this as anything incredible. But if I break it down, it was a huge transformation for me. And it wasn't anything that was easy or, granted. But to me, this journey was a revelation. And I really wish more people were aware on how to do those things and have a mindset for that. So we don't need to deal with really minor illnesses that's not supposed to be there. And as you know, right, like blood sugar problems and depression and things like high cholesterol, they are not natural. We create them like by ourselves. And now we are struggling with those things because we can't stop eating.
Yeah.
It's really important for me to get my point across to everyone, essentially, because unfortunately, everyone, including many in my family, are not being healthy, and many times it is by choice. And in my years of that I'm doing this, and it's been 2 years of me losing weight and changing my life, and of 2 years of practicing myself, and then other years that I'm working with other medical professionals. And I, for a couple of years, was a part of practice of OBGYN doctor in Manhattan. And then I'm working with very famous naturopathic doctor in our area. And recently I joined a celebrity pediatric clinic as a health coach for parents. So all of that shows me how much people want to change, and they are not doing this because they don't have the knowledge, because they don't have the tools, because they have limiting beliefs, and most of all, they don't have the mindset to go and change the things around. We all want things. We all want quick fix. We all want to things to become fast and great, but it doesn't happen. We can't expect to be, millionaires overnight. We can't expect, and we don't typically expect to go, I don't know, a doctor's degree in 3 months over internet. Yeah, people need to work hard, and no one even got a high school diploma in half a year. Everyone had to go to school for 12 years. But we do expect to get healthy, gain muscle, lose weight in like 3 months. And unfortunately, there's so much disinformation out there. There's so much lie out there. You can go to YouTube, you can read blogs, you can look on Instagram, and someone will say, hey, you want to lose weight? You want to get healthy? Hey, my program will help you. Just do 3 simple things and you will be ripped like me. And people believe that. And people pay a lot of money.
Oh
And
yeah.
of course, it doesn't work. But they keep on seeing those, beautiful bodies on Instagram, and they keep on paying and paying. And of course, it never ends in anything good, and they get worse. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, do you see that too?
Oh yeah, I see it everywhere, and I think you already hit on it, is that people need the education. They need the information so that they can really empower themselves and not be drawn into those false advertising type things. And, and it is marketing and kind of a ploy to get them to just spend their money with a certain person. But, that's why I wanted you here today, so we could really talk about and break those things down. What do people really need to do to get that transformation? Because we know, what you're seeing online and on social media isn't quite the way they're presenting it to be. And people are getting frustrated out here, and they do want results, but they have to have that information in order to get those transformations that they want.
This is so true. And the age of being visual, of the age of social media and elevated dopamine, which is crashing really fast, people want something fast, quick, and fun. They don't want to work hard, and no one wants to suffer. So people instead suffer from being let down again and again and again, just because they really took wrong perspective, because they don't have one important thing, which is mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And the
So,
mindset, yeah.
mhm. You keep bringing up the mindset, and I want to talk about this because you've been through your own transformation. So, what did it take for you to really switch and change your mindset in order to make that happen? Like, how do you do that? Because it's not something, a switch I can flip, it's not something physical I can do, it's not a pill I could take. How do you change your mindset?
Awesome. I think it's an excellent question. And I think I was lucky because I didn't come from the place, oh, like I look like something I don't want to look like and I need to lose weight. It wasn't the case. And I think that specific thing helped me a lot. Most people, they look at the mirror and they say, oh, like I want to lose weight. Or someone tells them they don't look great. Or maybe, they just understand you need to lose weight. I had extra weight, and like guys, they typically look at the mirror and they say, I look amazing, even I have huge stomach, because they don't see it. So I never thought with 90 pounds extra that I was overweight. It was too many, right? Because obviously my wife would never say that. My friends would never. It's like no one would tell me, "Hey, you're fat." It didn't happen. And I used to go to doctors when I lived in Manhattan, and I went through 3 different practices. And all the time, someone would tell me, "Yeah, you have slightly high cholesterol, and you need to take niacin, take fish oil, maybe eat a little less bread." And I would try, and it wouldn't help. And I would just go back to my own things. And then eventually, someone who is really well known, a specialist, told me, well, it's genetic. Your parents have high cholesterol. Are they alive? And I said, yes. And that person says, well, then you're good. Like everything is fine. Your parents are about 70. You're about like, you will have long life. What do I know? I'm not a doctor, right? So we moved to a different area, and my wife told me after 3 years that you probably should visit a doctor because you haven't gone in 3 years. And I said, what else can I learn? That I have a high cholesterol? Okay, it's genetic. I cannot do anything about that. But then I went, and the doctor I've seen was a different one. The doctor wasn't European. He wasn't American born. That was a doctor who was real doctor, and he looked at my blood work, he looked at me and said, you're fat, and based on what I see here, I'll give you 5 years before you have stroke or heart attack. You have very high cholesterol that we cannot count because your triglycerides are about 500 and something, 17, I think, and I have never seen that. which, by the way, now I'm in my practice, I've seen way higher. But what he told me, you have fatty liver, you are pre-diabetic, you have everything not to survive 5 years. And in 5 years, your kids might not have a father. I was 37. And as careless as I was drinking, and I was eating everything, and I enjoyed my life. I was executive at a software company. It struck me like a train, first time in my life. And I said, oh, wow, like that can happen. So next day I was searching for a nutritionist, and I signed up to a gym. And then I figured out very quickly, so yes, I can go to the gym, and that works. And that was very like short term. So we're not far in the journey, it's a couple of days. But everyone who I called for nutrition told me, okay, so how old are you? What weight are you? Cool, give us your email. We will send you a link to get our supplements, and you will eat those supplements and you will lose weight. Now, I'm coming from a background where people compare things and count things. Software company, security company before. And I asked myself, how can it be? They don't know who I am. They don't know what condition I have or conditions. There's no way that works. And I also paid attention, right? Like you're going to a doctor, you have diabetes. Another person is going to a doctor, they have diabetes. A doctor will not give you the same amount of the same pill without actually comparing. And probably it will be different. Maybe it will be different medications based on what you actually have, what kind of conditions you have. And they just tell me, oh, have that supplement and you will lose weight. So it cannot work. And of course, I'm not educated. So I started looking for nutritionists. I found one that was recommended in my area very, very much. And she was booked until 4 months after. So I had to do something in the meantime. And while I signed up and paid for the appointment, what I started doing is I started doing things that may be good, may be bad, but I decided if I have high blood sugar and that causes all my problems, I will stop eating sugar. And I cut out everything. And my nutrition back then, it wasn't cakes, but it was pasta, pizza, pastries, everything that like bread, a lot of that. So, and I was vegetarian, which I know now is not good for anything. Like I didn't see blood work of a healthy vegetarian or vegan. It doesn't exist. And I'm not trying to offend anyone, God forbid, but they don't exist long term.
You're offending me. I'm vegetarian.
Yes, but if we dig, right? And by the way, vegetarians can be different, but there's always a deficiency. And if you're a smart vegetarian and you're a doctor, you might figure out your deficiencies and cover them. You can take right supplements, vitamins, whatever. But if you're not aware of this and you just not eating animals, you will be deficient in iron, in B vitamins, testosterone, estrogen, yada, yada, yada. So over time, you will not be able to do things that you're supposed to be as a human, right? You need to cover your deficiencies.
Yeah, and that's right. Everybody needs to know what their deficiencies are so that you are having the right nutrition for your body, so that you are having the right supplementation for your body. And, so I hear what you're saying. How can these nutritionists that you're going to just say, oh, just take
Herbalife.
these supplements, we'll send them to you, and they don't know anything? It's crazy.
But it's not crazy. People need to make money. People have to make money. So, you know what? If there's millions of people who are so thirsty to do something quick, well, let them fail, right? And then realize that, hey, it cannot work. Because everyone who's doing it fast, by way of not eating or eating something, they go back right to where they started.
So, yes, tell me the rest of the story. I want to hear.
So I cut sugar out, and I didn't have a scale at home. I was traveling a lot for work. I was flying a lot. I was hosting executives as a part of my job. And I noticed that my suit doesn't fit anymore. And I said, "Ooh, interesting." So I refit it. And then after a month, it didn't fit again. So I had to buy a new suit.
Wait, doesn't fit how? So the suit was too big for you?
It was too large.
Okay, I
My
got you.
pants were falling. My jacket looked like, I don't know, too big. And I went through a series of I don't know how many fittings and then buying new suits over the next 2 years. And then after a couple of months, I said, "Oh, that's interesting. I'm probably losing weight." So I bought a scale and it was like going down. But this is not what's interesting. What is interesting that after 3 months, when I went to a doctor for the follow-up and he did my blood work, he said, "What are you doing? What did you do to yourself that your cholesterol is perfect? You have no fatty liver, you're not pre-diabetic. Like your inflammation went down significantly. What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I just stopped eating this and this and this and this." And he said, "But you must be hungry." And I'm like, "No." And he said, I want to know what you're doing." And by the way, to mind you, the doctor was overweight, very, very
Like most doctors are.
severely,
Like most doctors are.
and he was smoking.
Very unhealthy. So how can you have a doctor?
Well, not the case. We have a live
No,
evidence
not
that not
all,
all of
but
them.
a lot. I would say
Right.
majority, just like the regular population. So how can you advise someone on healthy living if you're not having this same lifestyle? Anyway, continue the story.
Amen. So that was a revelation to me because, what do I know? I just, cut out some things. So what that prompted me to do is to go and start learning. And I started learning and I understood the processes. I understood what happens in the body, and I understood that actually me cutting sugar, removing, things that I'm not supposed to be eating, mostly processed food, they cause me to stop inflammation. They cause me to reverse, insulin resistance. They cause my kidneys to start working properly. They, fix my liver. And it's all not just, like your sugar is high or low. It's the whole system. So I went to study. I took courses. I took, it's funny because when I went to college initially a long time ago, I tried to go and study biochemistry as additional, subject to economics because I thought it will be fun. And I dropped out after going to the class twice. And here's me at age of 37 taking biochemistry courses from, university and saying, "Wow, this is cool and so interesting."
Yeah, because now it's in context. Now you understand why it matters. It's just not, someone spouting information. It's like now it makes sense because it relates to you and your body and your life and how you feel.
Yes, so that was fun, and I learned a lot. And I also happened to meet an amazing mentor. His name is Luis Villasenor. He's an owner and co-founder of Keto Gains Project, and they help a lot of people to get healthier by way of losing weight, working out, and I'm proud to have him as my coach. So he gave me a lot of education. In addition, I got to that amazing nutritionist that I wanted to get to. And luckily, that person is and was amazing back then. Vast knowledge. However, by the time I got to her, I didn't need any problem with losing weight because I was losing weight and I didn't have a problem. My cholesterol was better. But instead of that, she designed my blood work, and the blood work that you typically don't get from your PCP. It was like pages and pages and pages. And she said, "Oh, like you have this and you low on that and you high on this." And it was like an hour of problems. And I realized that when you go to a typical, physical at your PCP, they don't deliver you what you should be aware of. There's a very standard line of blood work that doesn't tell a person anything, including the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And that was crazy thing for me. So I went to my doctor with that saying, "Hey, do you know?" And we specifically was cholesterol markers, ApoB, LPA, LPLA for the aficionados. And I can do you see this? They are not good. And he said, what is it? What that is? I don't know what it is. Like that's probably something unrelated. And I was blown away. That said, a year down the road, that doctor became my client. He's not obese anymore. He doesn't smoke.
And it's funny that you say your doctor did not know about these tests, and it's there in the research, and it's very telling about the medical industry nowadays, because everybody's like, oh, doctors are so smart. I'm like, no, doctors don't read. We need to be reading the journals, reading these articles, reading the studies on, like you said, cholesterol particles and those sorts of things. You can't be spoon fed all the information. I think it's up to us to really start digging into the information to become aware of those factors that truly affect people's health. Like you said, the nutritionist came out with pages and pages of data about your health, and your PCP, it's just a few standard things. And like you said, it doesn't really reveal anything. So this is how people end up feeling terrible. And then the doctor is like, oh, everything's normal. How can everything be normal if you don't feel normal at all? It makes no
Right.
sense. But I'm glad your doctor went to you and got the turnarounds too.
It's that's yes, and I'm blessed like that. But I do think there's a really big problem with family or like modern medicine or whatever you name it, because if you go to typical PCP, they simply don't know what they should be looking at. They don't run the test because it's not a standard in the United States. And unless your doctor is a functional doctor or doctor who is really actually self-educating and continuous education and cares, and not just, I got my degree and now I'm just in my practice seeing people and letting them like in, out, that doctor doesn't bring you anything except of saying to your insurance, oh, like, this is the blood work. It's useless. And if we don't take our health to right doctors, or if we can't find the right doctor in our own hands, we are kind of on our own and we will not be good. The fact that I need to fight with my pediatrician to run my kid's blood work, and when she agrees, I'm telling her, like, I want to run those markers, and she says, like, you don't do this for kids, right? Which is like very basic things. This is insane. And when we get high cholesterol results for our children, then she would say, but all kids have high cholesterol nowadays, right? That is insane.
Yeah.
And now I need to medicate my own kids or maybe change their ways. But they have a doctor, and doctor should be able to say, oh, you have this, do that, right? It's not hard. If I can do this, medical professional definitely can, for sure.
You're right. And you said it, the physicians have to take the time to go get the information. You can't just allow the pharmaceutical companies to educate you, because they're the ones sponsoring the conferences. So it's like, what do you think they're going to want you to do? Just check basic things that are going to tell you, oh, your patient needs high blood pressure medicine, they need diabetes medicine, they need cholesterol medicine. Health and wellness is more than that. The role of a physician should be more than that. It should be to make people healthy. And you're hitting on a big sore topic that a lot of people aren't doing that. That's not what it stands for a lot of times, and especially in the US. I don't know what what the industry has become, but it's not one that's helping people actually get their lives back, get healthy, live a long and healthy life where you have a quality of life and not feeling sick and pain and not able to function the way you should and live out your life in a purposeful way. And so I think that's what it's about, is really helping people turn their lives around and truly live a fully functional and healthy life where you're feeling at your optimal level, where you're feeling great, where you're dancing with your grandkids at 85 and not, having a stroke in your 30s or 40s, because that's what we're seeing nowadays. And so when you talk about your story, you were 37 and having the high cholesterol and very high triglycerides. We see it all the time. And I don't know how people are functioning as if it's business as usual. Because when I was working in the hospitals, we would see people in their 20s, and not just one random rare case, like every week, 20 something year olds with cancer, every week, 30 something year olds with heart attack, every week, 40 something year olds with strokes. That's young. And that's crazy. And it has to be our lifestyle, it has to be our environment. These are things that we can control and change. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox because this episode is about you and the information you need to tell us. So, based on what you just told me, how did what you learned through this process influence your way of helping others accomplish results too? Because you didn't just do it for yourself, you somehow turned that to start helping other people get the same transformations too. Tell me about how you came about that and started to do that.
All right. So what happened is, in the end, I started going to a nutritionist that I have mentioned, and her name is Dr. Edra Rothfeld. And I learned a lot from her about how nutrition works, about how hormones work, about what do we need to look at blood in the blood work. And I took the knowledge that I was gaining from her and from my coach Luis in a part of actual, low carb diet and fitness journey, and I joined those things together, and I started helping people with weight loss in the beginning. And it started with Dr. Adria asking me to take care of one of her patients to see if I can help them to lose weight, because my approach was very hands-on. And meaning I'm with you every step of the way. I know what you eat. I know how you sleep. You're accountable to me every step of the way, and I'm looking after you. And it's not something that actually doctor can do, because doctor has a lot of patients, and you cannot be in that life of that one person. And I was successful with a patient, and then with another, and then with another. And then Dr. Ali suggested you should be doing this and not what you're doing for work. And that resonated a lot. But then it took me 2 years to actually, leave my job. But from that day, I started with building a website, starting putting the word out, and essentially getting clients through referrals, and then organically. And now I'm getting 20, 30 people a day who are calling me or mailing me asking to work with me. And I'm lucky because I can choose at this point who to work with. And I'm only working with people who want to be healthy and not to lose weight for a wedding, because people who are looking at losing weight for a wedding will have the weight back 2 weeks after the wedding. Now, what I do is combination, because I learned multiple things. But one most important thing is that you need to know why you want to be healthy or to lose weight or get to that point, right? And there's beautiful book by Simon Sinek that is called Start with Why, for business professionals, for people who want to be in the money mindset. But it's exactly the same thing for getting somewhere with any of your life goals. Because if you want to lose weight and you don't know why, and you think it's just to look better or feel better, you will not be able to. People who find their why, they understand that it's not for losing weight, it's not for looking better, it's for being there for their family when they're 80, being able to sustain themselves, carrying shopping, taking care of their grandchildren without them actually taking care of themselves, being functional at 85 instead of maybe not being there, or even worse, being there and not being able to sustain themselves. I developed a union of systems which allow me to help people with the mindset to want to do the thing, not because they are motivated, not because they want something, not because they're determined, despite all of that. Because when we find the why and we change the way person thinks, we turn the wheel around. And then it maybe doesn't matter if it's this kind of diet, if it's low carb, high carb, whatever, because that is not the culprit. No matter what protocol I will put you on, if your mind is not set to win and do it long term, despite difficulties, despite suffering, maybe because you can't get a cookie for forever, maybe, right? Then you cannot succeed. And this is why people who successfully lose weight really fast, they go back because they don't have the mindset of a winner and of being healthy. And this is why people who achieve things with real blood and over time, and I'm not talking about just health, anything. It can be business, it can be, like literature, whatever they do, it takes time. Good things take time and they take a mindset. And my goal with every client to change their mindset about their weight, about their health, about the repercussions of them not doing the right thing for themselves. And then we uncover what they should be doing. I have a personalized approach. So I combine everything I learned with nutrition, with biochemistry, with fitness into personalized protocol for that person that is based on who they are, based of course on their age and gender and their body composition. And then this is something I don't typically see, and this is why I succeed so much, what's in their hormones and their blood work. I combine all of that and I help people to get to the place they need while being there for them, while keeping them accountable, while being supportive, by being there for them sometimes 24 hours a day. And obviously no one is doing that, so I can help more people. I help people one-on-one and I help people in group settings. And this was really good over years, and I keep on learning and keep on improving, and that helps me in turn to help people more and more. And I call my system shaped, all right, SHAPD, where S is we're doing the situation assessment. So we're understanding what's the medical history, what the health, interesting. So what is the health situation? What is the body composition? What's in the blood work? How hormones look like? For example, if someone's thyroid is not going the right direction, their energy levels will be affected. And then, no online calculator will tell you how much to eat to lose weight. It's not going to happen. So next in the shape is age, holistic goals. So we're establishing holistic goals that cover everything, and not just I want to lose X pounds or I want to lower my cholesterol to this. We're looking at holistic end goals, long-term goals, establishing tangible goals for those things. We're creating adaptive design. Basically, we custom personalized plans for every single person. And those plans change because as your body is going through changes, you need to change how much of what you're eating and when. So it's never, you're not eating this thing forever. It's this point in time, maybe it's not good for you specifically. And maybe later, as long as it's not some kind of processed horrible thing, maybe you will be eating that. And like nowadays, people go into those craziness of like, I'm on keto diet, so I can't have a potato or a berry. That's wrong, right? It's food. But maybe right now in the moment, because you are diabetic, maybe you can't have a potato, but then you will be able to. And all of that requires persistent execution and continuous execution. So we need to work on those things all the time. There's no break in that. There's no, I want to, I don't want to, like today, I'm not in the mood, right? And this is the mindset. And the work on mindset is constantly there. I'm always in my clients' ears through writing things, through saying things, through sending them articles, and through being there for them, which is, again, E in my shaped formula is empathetic support. I'm there for my patient, for my client. Sorry, patient is not for me, it's for you. I'm empathetic. I'm not judging anyone. I'm not, screaming at anyone. My goal is to support you and to tell you how things are for real. And I will be there for you as long as you want to be there for yourself. What I don't do, if a person tells me, I don't believe in myself, I don't want to be here, and then I say, if you say so, because if a person decided they don't want health, they don't want to survive, no one can convince them, right? It's that person who says, I know I'm sick, I know I have problems, but I like my cookies. There's nothing you can do to convince that person. This is why it's impossible to convince family of getting better unless they see you and they see your example and they decide to follow you without you pushing them. And one last part in my formula in shaped is D, is dedicated accountability. I'm holding my people accountable always. I'm there for them. They have to be there for themselves and for me. They need to tell me how they feel. They need to ask for help. They need to deliver me information I need. They need to sometimes measure their food, sometimes weigh themselves. They need to be there for themselves. They need to be present. Without being present, they cannot do anything. Whoever follows that formula, whoever is being dedicated to themselves, and by way of being dedicated to themselves, they're dedicated to their family. Because if you are sick at age of 70, you are useless to your family. And if they need to support you instead of you supporting, them, it's not fun. And no amount of money that you earned of options, stock, houses, whatever, will help you to be happy if you're not functioning. And I happen to help mostly very successful people because I think that people who have certain professions, they have understanding that they need to work. People like medical professionals, like doctors, nurses, attorneys, executives, right? Business owners, they know that they need to be there, that they cannot just sit around and things will happen for them because they've been through things. They worked really hard. And yes, maybe they're high earners, but it's not because, money fell on them from the sky. They know they need to work really hard. This is why I have several CEOs of companies who sold multiple companies, who had multiple exits. They know they have to work. And if you are not able to function, you cannot think. You cannot take right decisions. A doctor who is not taking right decisions and it's doctor in operation room, they're done, right? And that happens a lot. A lawyer who took a wrong decision because they were tired, it's a problem. It's a problem for anyone who is a high achiever. And this is why I think my clientele are those people mostly, because they need to be there. They need to be functional, sometimes all hours of the day. Sometimes people need to get up at 3 a.m. and work with the client in Philippines, Japan, Korea. You can't do that if you can think. You can think clearly if you're not nurturing yourself. And that also ties to if you're not working out, if you don't have a fitness routine, you still will not be functioning. So everything ties into that place: nutrition, mindset, fitness. It all comes together, and yes, it's a cliche, but it all comes to wellness. And that's another cliche, but wellness is cheaper than illness in the end.
It is. And I mean, that everything you just said is just profound. And I hope everybody was, had their ears open and was listening to what you just said. Because if your body isn't functioning, you can't function. You can't prioritize your task over your health because you need your health first in order to do the things that you want to do in your life, and that's amazing. And you mentioned the mindset and finding your why behind it. And the book, I love that book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, and I read that one too. And I mean, it's a phenomenal book, and we'll put that in the show notes too, so people can take a look at it if they get a chance to, because you got to get down to that core reason that you're doing this, and it can't be just superficial. The reasons, like you're saying, oh, I just want to, look good. I just want to get in a bathing suit. I got a wedding to go to. Those are, kind of irrelevant and very temporary reasons. But having those long-term goals, having that long-term foresight about how do you want to age? Time is going to move on the calendar. Do we want to be sick? Do we want to be unhealthy? Like you said, do you want to be a burden to your family, or do you want to be a benefit to everyone around you by keeping yourself healthy and functional? And it's doable. It's not hard to do. Now you might lose somebody saying, oh, you can't have a cookie anymore, but I don't think that's 100% across the board either. But that being said, what I want to know now is, why keto? Because keto is an interesting choice for to go along with your program. And there are so many different eating plans to choose from. So why this one as the way to guide your clients through this process?
This is interesting that you ask. So when I started my journey, I cut out all the sugar, but I didn't do it scientifically or it being educated. I just did it. And then after a couple of years, someone told me, "Oh, you're doing keto." And I was like, "What is that?" And because I wasn't in any nutritional space or whatever, dieting, I was just, lowering my cholesterol and studying biochemistry. And well, if you study biochemistry, no one is talking about keto. Like it doesn't exist, to be honest. And then I went on to Google and I realized, oh, like, this is what I'm doing, and maybe I'm not doing it right because I need to have more of that and more of that, like more fat, less protein. Not that I was eating correctly. And then luckily I met my coach Luis, and he taught me that protein is very important, and you cannot, eat bunch of fat and stay healthy. So essentially, they are in ketogenes, they promoting way of living where you are in ketosis, you eating ketogenic diet, but you're not doing it by way of overeating fat, which is everyone doing, but just cutting your carb and having enough protein. And I took it to a different place. I took it to a different level, combined with how much actually you need to have of all of that. And I started working on a ketogenic basis. Like I started my protocol with that because for many people, it's very hard to control the appetite and they're being afraid to be hungry. Although it's funny because if you ask a person who is overweight, are you never hungry? They will say like, what, are you kidding me? I'm always hungry, right? And then that same person comes to someone and say, I want to lose weight, but I'm afraid to be hungry. And before that, I was saying, oh, you're not going to be hungry. That's fine. And like that works. That also, very convincing, because if you eat enough protein, you're not going to be hungry. But then there is a problem, which I discovered with the mindset. And the problem with the mindset is that if you're looking to not be hungry, you will fail because you have a wrong goal. If you are looking to lose weight from a place of I'm ready to do everything as long as I'm not hungry, you already failed, because the second you will go and do something else and then you'll be hungry forever because carb makes you hungry. Now, ketogenic diet is something that was very popular and it's easy to help people because there is awareness. But I would rather, to be honest and full disclosure, I can rename my practice into Keto Survivors because I have a lot of clients who actually did and tried ketogenic diet for weight loss. And the result was bad. The result was horrible because a typical person reduces carb and yes, sugar drops, insulin drops, and then they say, oh, if my insulin is low, I want to keep it as low as possible, without understanding that they don't want low insulin. They want normal insulin or their body will self-destruct. They're creating insulin resistant on the back end of ketogenic diet because now they are not sensitive to insulin because they removed it from their life, and then the moment they eat little cookie, they're done. They're on the floor. They can't function. Right? This is not the idea. They're reducing their protein, and now I have a lot of clients, ladies mostly, who come to me and say, I lost all my weight on keto. That was so good. And now I have osteoporosis and I have weakness and I'm losing muscle and my doctor doesn't know what to do. They're giving me calcium supplements, and this is insane. This is us taking fat diet and self-destructing because we're losing weight, we're maybe feeling great, that's amazing, until 3 years after, when you have insanely high cholesterol, you have no bone and you have no muscle.
Right. And so, that's why I wanted to ask about it, so you could offer a little bit more clarity, because I do see clients who run into issues when they're doing ketogenic diets. And so I want to know if we can touch on maybe some of the misconceptions about keto. And like you're explaining, I think it gets a bad reputation because perhaps people misuse the strategies or just take the wrong approach to it. So, and it sounds like you have run into that, but what are your thoughts about that? The misconceptions and the
Okay.
way people are misusing ketogenic diets?
So, first of all, I can go for 3 more hours like this, talking about those problems, but I don't want to because no one wants to listen to me babbling. In the end, the ketogenic diet built on the one principle of state of ketosis. State of ketosis means you have your carb intake low enough to enter that state where you use some of your energy from your fat as ketones, as bodies that kind of replace glucose. What people start believing though in, because of different influencers, and we can name many, and that's fine, those people telling general populations that, oh, if you don't have sugar, if you don't have protein, if you're fasting all the time, you will be doing amazing, you will be healthy forever, and now you need to avoid protein because that makes sugar. You need to avoid protein because you won't be in ketosis. You need to eat a lot of fat to burn fat. Uh, and any educated person who studied anything in the area, they realize that it's not real, but most people have no idea, right? And they see that they lose weight and they see that they feel great. So you have energy and, whatever, but people do not realize that the benefit that they feel, they're not the benefit of the state of ketosis. They're just the benefits of cutting on calories and carb. And you don't need to be anywhere close to ketogenic state to experience all of that, except that number of ketones. And then people go and prick their fingers and they become addicted to that, and it says nothing. It means zero. There's no any benefit in being there and there if you're healthy, right? And if you're unhealthy, guess what? It also has no benefit how much you are in that state. So those things drive people to really bad place. Now, what's even worse, same people, they say it doesn't matter if you have high cholesterol, because if you're ketogenic, then you will have no plaque in your arteries. And that drives me nuts, because if there's plaque, there's plaque. And if you're decided you're ketogenic, it doesn't go away. And if you have overload of fat and you load your arteries with that, and now you have plaque, it's real. It's not going away. And people overeat different processed keto food. And now they are inflamed and overweight and insulin resistance. Because insulin resistance is not a result of you eating sugar. It's a result of many things coming together.
And you just said the magic word, inflammation. That is what triggers the plaques in the arteries, the inflammation. And then you're consuming all this fat. The fat becomes oxidized in that case, hence the production of the plaques. So, it's interesting. And I know we could talk about this forever and ever. Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
We can talk, just make an episode on that.
Exactly. We'll have to circle back at another time. But I do want to know, because I think people think and associate keto and weight loss. So what are some of the other benefits when you're doing it the proper way that people can get from following this sort of lifestyle?
All right. So I am using ketogenic diet for a lot of my clients. And by the way, not for all of them. Because sometimes if a person is competitive athlete, they will not benefit from it. A person who has really bad markers, they can benefit from that. And why? It's not because of ketosis. It's because of the carb is being so low that there's no chance that person will be hungry, will be tempted, will have cravings. And many things about losing weight are about addiction. When I'm removing the source of addiction, when I'm removing the source of cravings, which by the way means you do need to have enough protein, right? People take it very easily. They suddenly can eat at a deficit that they need to be eating. By the way, I'm very much against going all the way. I'm going to eat as much as less as possible. And then I won't have anything left on my body, and then I will have insulin resistance forever. But it allows for the person to eat less and not care about food for the purpose of searching for food, thinking of food, because now state of ketosis I don't care about, but the level of sugar that person gets gets so low that the person just feeling good, no inflammation, because we can assure, right, if I will let you eat 30 grams of carb and you cannot have anything but veggies and berries, you will not be inflamed. You will have no cravings unless you're really addicted, but you will not be inflamed. And my goal is to get rid of that inflammation. And many people have, what can you do about it? Low thyroid function, and doctor will not tell you anything because it's within the, it's not anything, but it is low enough for you to not be able to lose weight with the calories you think you should be eating for weight loss. So you need to eat less. And people, when they see calories, they get hungry. Like, oh, I'm going to eat 1,200 calories. I'm going to die. And guess what? A week after, that person eats whatever I tell them, and they're like, can I please eat less? Because I can't eat all that protein, right? We changing those things. And I think for a person who they have hard time being self-accountable. They have hard time doing things like being open-minded and thinking creatively. That person in the beginning of their road, they can really, really use ketogenic protocol without all the drawbacks of actual ketogenic protocol, right? So we're not going to eat loads of fat. We're not going to make you have high cholesterol. We're not going to make you insulin resistant by lowering everything, right? We will make sure that you eat plenty of protein and plenty of vegetables, and you will never be hungry again, and you will have zero inflammation. And then we will teach you how to add good things to your diet. Slowly, we will teach you how to learn what to supplement to make sure you have zero deficiencies, because we track all the vitals in terms of what are your minerals, what are your vitamins, what's in your blood work, what are you deficient in, so you don't have those deficiencies. So you cover it all across the board. And this is where the keto comes in, because people who are, and it's very weird, because if you think about abusive relationships, women who have been in abusive relationships, they are gravitating to another abusive relationship. Psychology says that if a person had an abusive parent, they will gravitate to an abusive spouse. And unfortunately, that's true. And unfortunately, people who were harmed by ketogenic diet gravitating to ketogenic diet because, yes, maybe true in my health, but I feel good, I'm losing weight, I believe in it, so I want to balance it out. And many clients who come to me, they say, I'm doing keto for 3 years, for 4 years, I have bad, problems with it. My doctor said I need to take a statin, but I really like it. What can I do to stay here but get healthy? And this is what I do. In the process of giving a ton of education, so they understand that they don't need it necessarily to be healthy or to keep the weight off. They need the mindset for that, and they can eat bigger variety. And this is where I'm slowly building them up to. So we're removing all the processed food, all the keto cookies, all the bread replacements, all drink, like, I don't know, keto chocolate or oil in their coffee.
Yeah.
And we're teaching them, and all that stuff makes them sicker and unhealthier, and cravings are going crazy. So people want more of that stuff, right? It's yummy, so they want more of that. We're teaching people how to eat in a balanced way. So in a year or two, where you have no health problems, you can go and enjoy real ice cream once a month without being guilty about it, without thinking about, oh, it will raise my sugar, my insulin, it will keep me up. It doesn't matter. You will not care, because you will be balanced, you will be healthy, and you will be at the weight where you want to be. And you can enjoy things in life responsibly, because the dessert is not for everyday life. It's like you going to a good restaurant and you enjoying a dessert. You're not opening your fridge and eating a gallon of ice cream. What's the fun in that if you're eating ice cream all the time, right? It's just an addiction. It's like a person who's not drinking a cocktail in a very good bar once a month. It's a person who opens their bar and drinks vodka, right? Or mixing their cocktails every night. And they have to, otherwise it's not a good evening. And this is what we do. So for me, ketogenic protocol, it's not about eating fat. It's about using ketogenic state, or maybe something close to ketogenic state, to control what you have, and then going out of that. Because it's also not realistic, and no one stays ketogenic for life. People say that they will do it forever and they're doing it but no one actually is doing that. And it's not sustainable.
Right.
Because life happens.
And you shouldn't. You should not do that.
You should be flexible, and I teach you how to be flexible so your blood work is perfect and you're functioning for longest time and staying healthy and staying happy.
Nice. So, that being said, what are some common challenges and pitfalls that someone who could be your client could run into while they are on their wellness journey? Like, for instance, we started to mention you can have a treat every now and then, but understanding that it's a treat. So, for instance, if they like really love chocolate cake, but then they're afraid because they start down this path, and then they're like, "Oh, I see the cake," and and probably before they would have indulged. But what do you say if that was your client? What happens next when they see that thing? And I know you talk about triggers and things like that. How do you prepare your clients for these sorts of critical scenarios, if we'll call it that?
Of course, that's a very good theme to discuss. And again, we can set up 2 hours aside for that. But in a nutshell, basic things, right? If you're an alcoholic, you shouldn't have alcohol in your house and you shouldn't go to bar. And for that, you need an awareness, because many alcoholics do not identify themselves as alcoholists. They don't. And alcohol is kind of socially unacceptable in terms of, yes, we are aware it's a thing. Now with food, it's way worse because it's socially acceptable, but because with food you have way more, I don't want to say triggers, way more factors that make food addictive. Way more, right? You have sugar regulation, sweet taste, you have dopamine, like pathways and things all comes together. So it's hard to give up that, way harder than cigarettes or alcohol, and sometimes drugs, way harder. And because it's everywhere, and it's socially acceptable to eat food. Ice cream is not evil. It's really hard because everyone is there. So one of the main challenges people deal with is peer pressure. They try hard, they work, they break their habits, and then they go out to restaurant, all the friends are having something, and they're sitting there, and there are two options. Either some idiot, and I'm sorry, I apologize to everyone who hears that, some idiot will say, well, you can have some. No one dies from a cake. No one dies from some pasta. But no one says it to the alcoholic, right? Have some alcohol. People understand that with food, it's not that. It's not happening. And maybe it's on purpose, because those people oh, here you are getting, all healthy, and I can't, so let me sabotage you, maybe unconsciously. And sometimes people generally you it's not normal, you have a problem, have some cake, because that's normal. Or person sits there, no one says anything, but they feel deprived because everyone is eating cake and they are not eating cake. And there's a lot of things that I work with in order to help with this, but it comes from the place where you need to have a mindset not to sabotage yourself, not to harm yourself, understanding that you're not losing out, you're not missing out, you're not deprived, you're actually gaining, and you have a huge bonus here. And those your friends who eat the cake and then after dinner they will sit hey, I can breathe, and talking about medical problems and heartburn and issues, and where you say oh, I don't know what you mean. I forgot about this 3 years ago. That's amazing feeling. But people feel I'm missing out because they have a cake. So it's a mindset of not giving a crap about what they eat, because you're not missing out. You can always have a cake. It's in the supermarket, it's in every place. You're not missing out. Do you need it? You don't. So we work on that mindset. We work on not caring. And it's more important than not eating. But we also work on guilt because, again, maybe you're doing all of that and then you decide, like, I'm going to eat this. But now, and unfortunately, those fat diets, as ketogenic diet, being very restrictive and creating like religious cults where you either in or out, and people have communities. And then someone says, oh, like I ate ice cream yesterday, and like, oh, you're not ketogenic. And people want to belong, like it's, I don't know, a church. And no one really cares about what you eat, but people don't want to feel like that. So if I'm suffering here and I'm limiting myself and that person ate an ice cream, let's say boo. Right? And people fall into the trap. They say, oh, like I want to belong. I can't, not be like my Facebook group or whatever community they belong to. And then they restrict themselves and like, I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat. I'm not. Guess what happens when you restrict yourself rigidly? You break, right? Chemistry, physics, they say that something that is rigid breaks. Something that is flexible doesn't break. So if you are very rigid with yourself, if you're punishing yourself, I ate a cake and now I'm going to punish myself with 2 days fast, a lot of cardio, and avoiding everything. Like I'm going to eat 0 carb for a week.
Yeah.
In a month, they will be triggered again, and it will go way harder. So I'm working on that. In terms of, so you ate something. So what happened? Let's analyze that. Are you feeling not so good? Maybe that means that you shouldn't eat that much next time, right? Are you having sweats? Are you not can't think straight and you needed to work with a client in the morning, right? How is that useful? And take those things and compare and look at what are you creating for yourself, but don't feel guilty about it. But that happened already. You cannot change that. If you dwell in that past, you will just keep on going back because you're creating a loop. Instead, understand why you shouldn't have those things without killing yourself, without punishing yourself. And next time, do slightly better. And slightly better, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. You can do better next time. And no one becomes perfect in anything over a month or a year. In nothing, except if it's not a useful thing. It's very easy to become habitual drinker or smoker or drug user or cake eater, right? Because it's easy. The good things, they take time. No one grows muscle in a year. No one develops whatever skills in a year. And if you rely on motivation, which is not real, you will always fail. So instead of that, you're taking little steps and you're getting better every time. You're not punishing yourself after. You just say, okay, I ate something. I don't feel so well. I will remember next time. And then it works over time. And someone will do better and, it will work faster and someone not. But it will not create a situation where the person goes into binge eating pattern because they're restricting themselves. So many people, we're totally fine. They just wanted to lose weight. They started doing ketogenic diet or whatever protocol it is that is restrictive. And now they're binge eaters because when they get to something, they cannot stop. And then some people need psychiatric help after.
Yeah.
Not many, but some people do.
Yeah.
And it's not good because you wanted to lose weight. Look what you got instead.
Right. And that's interesting. I mean, it's amazing that you take such a comprehensive approach to serving your clients and really digging into that mindset and going underneath why the behaviors happen and not just trying to control the behaviors themselves. I mean, that's part of it, but like you said, if it doesn't start in the mind and emotions, it sounds like, you're dealing with both at the same time, actually. And that's really interesting. But like you said, we could talk about this for days and days. But I wanted to ask you one more question before we go. How does incorporating the lifestyle shifts that you've been discussing today relate to the busy and successful professional who feels like they don't always have the time to focus on their fitness and their wellness? Are there some tips or strategies that you would recommend that they can incorporate so they don't feel like, the whole focus on health and fitness is consuming their life?
what I will say probably is very untraditional and not something that, like, it has nothing to do with nutrition. It has nothing to do with fitness. And this is why people can succeed, because they don't understand those things. So as I said, my clients are very high achievers. And their life is very, very busy, as you said, as yourself, right? So you have a schedule, typically. You have your patients, you have your, projects, whatever you do, it has to be scheduled or you won't be able to work, right? Now, what that means, that things that are important have to be scheduled and prioritized. If a person tells me that I don't have time to meditate, to make my food, to track my food, to go to the gym, I say, this is bullshit. Why? Because I know you're on Facebook. I know, you're listening to something. I know you watch TV. I know you're on the phone, right? I know you take a vacation, right? Like everyone had. So if you say in me you don't have time, it means you don't make time. And maybe it's hard for you to shift things around. But when you will get sick for real, guess what? You won't be able to make time. You will be in a hospital, right? Or you won't be able to move.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach people how to do prioritization and scheduling. If you need to eat correctly and you don't have the time, put it on your calendar. And it might be prohibitive and it might be very weird, because who eats on schedule? But guess what? You do anyway, most of the time. It's in your head. It's programmed. At some point in your day, you get hungry and you go to eat, because this is when you eat based on your schedule. So put it there, and then you don't need to think. And people who didn't plan their food ever, they say, oh, it will take so much time. No, it won't be. You will spend 30 minutes on it today, another 30 minutes during the week, and then it will become automatic and you will not think about this, and it works. If you don't have time to go and work out, which I don't force anyone, but everyone ends up doing that because they realize it's important, it means you're doing something else, because most gyms open 24 hours. You don't need to go to bed at 2 a.m. You don't need to watch Netflix till 12 a.m. And guess what? If you stop eating dinner at 9 p.m., you will not wake up tired. And you go to the gym easily. And you will be more energetic. And you can create yourself a routine. When I was still flying for work and I needed to go to work out and my flight was at 8 a.m., I was in the gym at 4 a.m. and I was changing there and going to the airport. And then I noticed that successful people who look good, they're doing same things. They prioritize, they schedule, and they do all of that. And there's no way that, I don't know, lawyer associate who has one job and they go home from office, but they're busy, but they don't have time, while their company owner, who is flying around the world, who has no life, somehow is fit, working out, and sharp. That person definitely has zero time. And if you look at that person's schedule, it's all on the calendar. Everything. And when it's all on the calendar for 6 months, then it becomes automatic. You just do it. But the desire to do this, it's a mindset. So I teach people how to reorganize their life, how to reorganize their calendar, and maybe understand that things they do, they are not important. And maybe things they need to be doing, they're way more important. But when you are more energetic, when you're not sick, when you don't go to doctors, when you sleep better, when you're more energetic, you have more time in a day, and you can do more in a day. You have more time, you're creating more time, because now you're not thinking about some solution for 2 hours, but it takes you 15 minutes instead. You can do so much more. You can do things on the fly, because now it's not just a matter of eating or losing weight or being healthy, it's the endless energy. And I work with executives who are healthy, who have no problems with being overweight, but they work crazy hours, so maybe they fly around. So I'm working sometimes with medical offices, all offices, and some companies where they hire me to coach their executives on how to not be tired, how to not have jet lag, how to go to Japan, get off the flight, and be very good and energetic in your next meeting, like you slept and like everything was fine. Then go see a city, take a tour, and fly back home, come back home, go to the office and function, because they need it. Because otherwise, they crashed, they trashed, they cannot take decisions, and they still have to go, fly and do those meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe they will have Alzheimer's, because if you don't sleep properly, that will kill you. People who don't sleep properly, the whole energy destabilized, the sugar goes up and you don't need to overeat, right? So I take care of all of that. And of course, some people decide that watching Netflix is more important no matter what.
Oh, yeah. And hormones all out of whack, all out of balance.
And some people say, but yeah, if I go to sleep 30 minutes later, I won't be able to do X, Y, Z. And typically it's not anything important, but they want to. But I'm lucky to say that majority of my clients, and it's more than 90%, being successful because they came to me from the actual need and not because they just wanted a magic bullet. And it took me years to get there. I work a lot with referrals, from company referrals, from personal referrals, less and less. Like I have a lot of leads from my website all the time, but now I can actually pre-filter people into some of the folks who write to me. Just based on what they write, I say, unfortunately, I'm not available, because I know they are not going to do that. And when people are preconditioned that they actually come in not to lose 10 pounds, but to get healthy, to get better, to gain energy, they have the desire to work. I have very rigid, application process where I look at the questionnaire and like I'm asking questions before person is meeting me for the first time. And when they feel that application, I make them think. So by way of filling that application, they already having an exercise, spilling things maybe they didn't think of. And then I can see, is this the real thing? And then I could decide, well, let's have a call and talk about this. And then maybe I can help you if you want to help yourself. And if you want to help yourself, I can always help you.
That's awesome. Well, Julian, this was absolutely excellent. I mean, just downright phenomenal. Great information. We'll have to talk again very soon. But
I would love.
first, for anyone who's listening and who may be having a struggle with their weight or their health in general, or just feeling confused about what to eat, what their next step should be, what do you recommend for them? Is there a way they can find more information and get in touch with you that they can kind of reach out?
Of course. So first of all, you can find me on LinkedIn and you can just search Julian Ribinik. That's very easy. And if you have the show notes, then you will know my name. I typically work with people who live on LinkedIn because professionals live there. So you can find me there. I put some articles and things like that. You can find me on Facebook if you're there. If you search for Coach Julian Ribinik. I'm on Instagram for those who actually are there, because most of us don't have time for that, but you can find me there if that's your preferred type of communication. And then again, find me by Coach Julian Ribinik. You can find me on my website, and my website is bioprimewellness.com. bioprimewellness.com, and I think you have the link in the show notes. And for your listeners, for your audience, I created a guide for people who want to be successful in weight loss. It's a guide that will walk you step by step through my personalized approach for professionals who want to lose weight and they tired of endless diets and workouts and supplements and results that are being promised to them, and they don't get there because they are missing one major thing that I explain in the guide, in the book, in the mini book, if you will. And you can find that guide under bioprimewellness.com/DocMo, DOCMO, just by the name of your podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, we put that up on the screen so that people can see it and they can go ahead and get a hold to that. It'll be in the show notes. So if you want to get a hold to Julian, that's where you'll find his information. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Julian, for being here and for sharing so many valuable ideas and insights with us today. I mean, it's just been an outstanding time for me, and I even learned so much, so I really enjoyed myself, and I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share your thoughts with us.
Happy to help. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Angela. I appreciate you. I appreciate your audience. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Julian, like you said, has put together a free guide, The Definitive Way to Unlock Your Weight Loss Potential. And you can grab your free copy yourself by going to the link below, bioprimewellness.com/DocMo. We'll leave a copy of the link in the show notes and you see it on your screen. If you're watching, if you're listening, then you can go to the website later and check it out. Thanks today for tuning in to the DocMo Show with our special guest, Julian Ribinik. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion on fitness, weight loss, keto, mindset, all of it, and how to keep that off naturally and live the life that you really want. As always, I want to hear from you. So if there's a natural wellness topic that you want to know about, or if you want to stay connected to the DocMo Show community and get some cool freebies in the meantime, head over to thedocmoshow.com and join the conversation. And be sure to join me next week as we continue to explore ways to help you feel your absolute best. Until next week, this is DocMo. Stay well, everybody.